Welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. Not to be confused with Norm, a Cheers podcast.
Who are those people?
Started a year after us, doing the exact same thing with the exact same title with a different conjunction. Yeah, we found that. We're like, yeah, guys, look, we don't own Cheers. We're certainly not the only people who get to talk about Cheers. Could you have done a slightly different title? Is that possible? It's the universe approving of our format change in a short couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's coming quick. I was looking at the episode list and I didn't realize we're 2 away.
Yeah, because we're doing a double header of mediocrity this week, and then 2 final episodes, and we're done.
Oh my God! End of an era.
It is the end of an era.
I'm scared.
No, it's a brave new world.
Okay.
Oh, brave new world that hath such movies in it. Yes, we're preparing for the new podcast. It's we've got an amazing list of movies for Tookie. She's loved every minute of everything we've shown her so far. It's fantastic. So yeah, so far we've shown. I think it's fine to say, right?
Yeah.
So far, Tookie has gotten to view Roadhouse and Face Off.
Mild spoilers. I have thoughts on both.
Yes, as they should. So we definitely we kind of started her with 2 kind of way over the top movies that are super fun, but way wild and what the fuck is going on in these movies? And we completely acknowledge that. And so we're going to go through the list. And the movie after that has to be a great movie. I think we're potentially leaning Godfather because that was on the docket before. And it's available to stream. So, yeah, I think one of those is going to be there. But I don't know which one yet.
And I'm allowed an occasional pick, right?
Of a movie that you have not seen?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you have a suggestion for any of these.
And I know
you are more than welcome to be like, hey, I think I want to do this one next.
I know basketball is off the list. Boo-hoo.
What's that?
Basketball. It's off the list.
Oh, you've seen it?
No, I haven't. I'm just saying.
There's no need to do that one because it doesn't fall into the parameters. It's not a movie I'm excited about showing you. It can't just be a movie you haven't seen.
See, I'm excited to find out what movies Tookie has seen that I haven't, that is going to bring me into her worldview a little bit more, because there have been moments on this show where you reference things that are not part of my sort of daily or growing up experience, and I feel like I'm the better for it. The first thing that jumps to mind is, of course, the Goofy movie.
Oh, a Goofy movie, man! Listen, yes, iconic cinema.
Little Slice of Heaven.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So good.
Yeah. If Tookie, if you want to assemble a list at some point so we can spice it up every once in a while and be like, all right, here's a Tookie movie Dave and Mike haven't seen. I feel like I just feel like that's not a long list. Judging from what you have not seen and the fact that my parents didn't pay a lot of attention to me, so I've seen most things. I'm so if you find some of those movies that fall into that category, I'm intrigued. But again, no retreats, no surrenders. No movie that's this is awful and I'm going to make you watch it and we're going to talk about it.
Okay, so Good Burger is also off the list, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But wait.
I've also seen Good Burger.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
But what about Baps?
I saw Baps.
I haven't seen Baps. This is such a.
You gotta watch Baps, man.
Baps is not bad.
It's not bad.
It's Robert Townsend, so it's I totally watched that when it came out. Yeah, I'm surprised you thought I would not have seen Baps.
It's a very
Halle Berry, film. Robert Townsend directed. Absolutely.
I love a lot of Robert Townsend stuff. So
yeah, Robert Townsend was someone who I really thought was going to have a bigger career than he did.
Me too.
Same.
Yeah. And he didn't have a bad career. He had a series that ran on the WB for a stretch that was fun. He directed Raw, but it's he never did that follow-up to Hollywood Shuffle that hit. He had Baps, he had Meteor Man was the thing that they were really hoping was going to hit big and flopped, unfortunately. Yeah, I had the 5 Heartbeats. Wow. Yeah.
He did
I
that.
know my Robert Townsend cinema.
You know what I made Trevor watch?
What?
Freaknik the musical.
This I don't know.
It's an animated feature from Adult Swim, from the creative mind of none other than T-Pain. And I made him watch it in anticipation of the upcoming Hulu documentary on Freaknik.
Well, sure. How can you watch the doc if you haven't seen it?
Yeah. So I don't know how much you guys know about it, because I know it was a phenomenon in the, I think, mid to late 80s through the early 90s, but it got shut down. But it was like the ultimate spring break experience for Black Gen Xers.
Wow. That
intriguing.
This is a nodule of the culture that I know absolutely zero about.
I know the lore of Freaknik. I wasn't around for it, but I think I was possibly a sentient being by the tail end of its existence.
There you go.
But yeah, but in knowing the lore of it, I'm fascinated by it, because a lot of just like insane things happen during its time, its heyday, and a lot of aunties are worried about footage of them doing some wild stuff leaking.
The love is still going to be there, aunties.
Yeah,
it's there.
Listen,
no one's.
If the Caucasian community can bounce back from Woodstock '99,
oh Lord,
I'm certain that whatever happened at Freaknik is only going to bolster your reputation, aunties.
Yeah,
multiple Woodstock '99 documentaries.
Oh my God, I watched the Netflix one. Yeah,
I watched the HBO one.
Oh, there was an HBO one too?
Oh yeah, great stuff.
Oh God,
Woodstock '99.
What a terrible time.
It was really like 3 days of assault. That one was.
People paid money to watch Limp Bizkit. Like, people.
It was wild, and like it was 3 days, and each day had one woman performing.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's a standard stand-up lineup. No.
It's close.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I cannot off the top of my head think of any acts featuring people of color in that entire festival.
James Brown.
No, there was one.
Yeah.
There was one. You mean from Woodstock '99?
Yeah.
James Brown and Wyclef Jean. Those are the two that I remember.
Because there was a wildly uncomfortable chant that was started.
What?
At Woodstock '99. And I don't remember who started it. There was a black performer who included something about the N-word.
Oh.
And there was a chant that was begun amidst this sea of young whiteness.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember that from the documentary.
Maybe we saw different docs. There's a chance Netflix did not emphasize that moment.
They probably sanitized some elements of it. Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah. The HBO doc was very much like, this was awful. And they also stressed the nudity a lot.
Well, because that was what it was most infamous for.
Yeah.
You haven't heard it, Mike, but I have a whole bit about the nudity at Woodstock.
No, I don't think I did.
No, it's newish.
I believe, and I don't. You reference a Disney character that gets referenced in one of these Cheers episodes in the same context today. I will say, like, I immediately thought of you when that came up.
Yeah. Oh man, Dave is so much more connected to the world of stand-up now than I am.
It's okay. Dave is now your new liaison.
He is. All right. Well, I don't want you to burn this on TV right now. So tell me after we stop recording, I'll listen to the joke.
Okay, cool.
All right. As you might be able to tell from the fact that 10 minutes has gone by and we haven't referenced it, we're doing 2 episodes of Cheers and we're not excited about either of them. Neither of them thrill us. Norm's first Hurrah and Cheers the motion picture. 23 and 24 before we get to two good episodes of 25 and 26. So we're just going to plow through these. We're just going to do it. We're going to tell some joke. We're going to go through some categories. We're going to talk about what happened. And we're also reminded of why the format is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Because these two episodes are very emblematic of what I think the last 6 seasons are, which is, in the last 6 seasons, I think there's more jokes. They're good episodes. They're, like we've said, I go back and I watch the last 6 seasons, and I enjoy them. But I can't watch them consecutively like I've done with the first 5 seasons. And like these 2 episodes, there's jokes in there. But yeah, it's you manufacture a problem for the week, and by the end of the episode, it's over and is never referenced again. And I kind of like that there was one of the things that made Cheers special these first 5 seasons for me was that there was an arc, there was ongoing stuff, and I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot. It felt like, all right, these things affected other things later on, and they would get talked about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we got these 23, 24. Let's plow through them. Dave, what was going on when these shows changed nothing about the world?
Well, these shows aired on March 26th and February 2nd, I believe, respectively, which was a great week.
Wow, that's a long break in between.
There was something in between, I think. The 26th and April 2nd. No, that's only a week.
Oh, I thought you said February 2nd.
Oh, sorry, March 26th and April 2nd.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Which turned out to be a kind of incredible week for all 3 strata of American culture, low, middle, and high. There were sort of like 3 tentpole events that sort of occurred within that week that these 2 episodes aired, between these 2 episodes airing. The high culture moment of this week actually occurs on the 26th. Fences by Honest Wilson opens on Broadway. We'll go on to win the Pulitzer, the Tony for Best Play, Best Direction for Lloyd Daniels.
James Earl Jones, right?
James Earl Jones wins for Best Actor. Incredible play. Obviously remounted on Broadway in 2010 with Denzel and Viola Davis. Local actor here in Rhode Island, Joe Wilson Jr. actually served as Denzel Washington's understudy for that run.
Nice.
Cool.
If you're looking for a local tie-in, but yeah, incredible play, incredible moment, huge celebration of an incredible career that would go on to span. I think this is play 6 in the Pittsburgh cycle. There are 4 more plays coming just in that cycle. Unprecedented career as an American dramatist. The middle brow cultural event was the 59th annual Academy Awards, taking place on March 30th, 1987. Platoon is the big winner for Best Picture, along with Marlee Matlin and Paul Newman for The Color of Money, and Marlee Matlin for Children of a Lesser God.
Children of a Lesser God, one of the great titles of all time.
Right? It's such a good title.
Magnificent title.
I have not seen it. Is it on the list?
It's not on the list, and I don't think I would put it on the list.
Fair.
I would not talk somebody out of the movie Children of a Lesser God. That being said, it's not a movie where I'd be like, oh, you got to watch that right now.
Okay.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. Her performance is great. Marlee Matlin's wonderful. It's okay. It's an okay movie. Okay. It didn't stick to me. Maybe I need to go and revisit it again. I've seen it, I think, twice. And both times I was left kind of thinking like, oh, that was good. I thought I was very impressed by the performances, and the movie as a whole was fine.
Yeah, that movie doesn't. And honestly, neither does Platoon. Platoon doesn't really linger with me either.
I shrugged when Platoon came up. It was during that time in the 80s where we did a lot about Vietnam.
Oh.
And it was okay. It was big. There was spectacle. It was like a lot of Oliver Stone movies.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of really good moments in a movie that wasn't a great story. is what I would say about Platoon.
So Platoon, would you describe it as like fresh nostalgia? Like kind of like how the early 2000s are sort
Well,
of.
it wasn't nostalgia. I mean, because to me, nostalgia means that you're like pining for a time. You're very excited about going back to it. This was re-examining an awful moment in our history.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all part of that sort of like Vietnam wrestling with what is our role in this world.
Yeah. And Oliver Stone in particular really, has a lot to say about Vietnam. Some of it very interesting and important because he was of an age where a lot of his friends had died in Vietnam. So it was, that might be a movie I should revisit. There's a chance maybe I saw it in the wrong context and I probably haven't seen it in 10, 15 years, and maybe seeing it at this point in my life, I would feel differently about it. It never struck me as a movie that I wanted to recommend or go back and revisit. And it's not a movie that's necessarily aged in that way where, you look back at old Oscar winners and you're like, oh, Platoon, oh, this movie, oh, that's incredible. It's just sort of there.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that. I see that.
Color of Money I would put on the list. I would put Color of Money and The Hustler on the list. It's the sequel to The Hustler.
Oh, I haven't seen either.
Yeah, The Hustler is a magnificent movie. That's from the 60s. It's really great. The Hustler is weird because it's almost like two movies. I shouldn't say that. It's about this pool hustler, Fast Eddie Felson, played by Paul Newman, and what happens to him. And there's this really weird romance in the middle of it after something happens, which is really good, but feels a little bit different. And I probably am not being kind enough to that section with Piper Laurie because she's wonderful in it. But the movie is really great. I think part of the problem is just the first 20 minutes of The Hustler are amazing to me. I go back and will just rewatch the beginning of that movie, and be like, okay, now I'm done. And then I'll go back to the ending of it, which is also really satisfying. And if I'm going to watch the middle of it, I'm like, all right, I'm settling in for the night. And there's something very satisfying about watching this 40-minute chunk of The Hustler that I choose to watch. Because you can do that now with digital streaming where you're just like, all right, skipping ahead for an hour. It's not like when you had a VHS, you had to literally fast forward to the end.
Yeah.
So I do that. But I do on occasion, I've probably seen The Hustler 20 times in its entirety. And
oh my God.
But I should not say that. I'm overestimating. I've seen The Hustler in its entirety probably a dozen times. 20 is a lot, but definitely a dozen times. And I enjoy it every time, but I'm settling in for, all right, this is my evening.
It's a big movie too. I remember the Blockbuster was a double cassette rental.
I don't know if it was that long. Can we double check that?
I have this visceral memory of renting it and getting like the two things.
You might be right. It's more. It always struck me as not the length, but the weight of it. Compared to the chunks that I like to watch, because that just the beginning of The Hustler, I've probably seen 30 times, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, it's only 2:14. It's not crazy.
Yeah, it's not insane. But yeah, it's really great. And The Color of Money is the sequel, and it happens like 25 years later. And it's a Martin Scorsese movie, but it doesn't feel like a Martin Scorsese movie. And it's Paul Newman, Tom Cruise going on the road. And it's really, really good. It's really, really fun. It's just not quite The Hustler. And Paul Newman won an Oscar for it, and everyone was like, it's a makeup Oscar. But when you go back and watch it, he's actually great in it.
Is the 25 years like one of those things where it is actually chronological, or is it like they made it 25 years, but in the story itself, it's a day later?
Nope, chronological. Yeah, because, Paul Newman was just clearly 25 years older.
Okay.
Yep.
Still a fucking smoke show.
Yep.
25 years older.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, both of those should be on the list. Those have to be on the list.
All right.
And our I don't want to say lowbrow, but our mass cultural event, even more so perhaps than the Oscars, was at this time the most watched pay-per-view event of all time. On March 29th, 1987, WrestleMania 3.
Whee! Pontiac Silverdome.
featuring the headline match, of course, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant.
Wow.
The sort of legacy match that we'll be talking about forever is Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, one of the finest matches in WWE history. A reported 93,000 attendees, probably inflated, but still a vast number of people indoors to watch a wrestling event. Star-studded. Aretha Franklin is on hand. Just a tribute to American excess, the likes of which we see on a regular basis now.
Can we chat just a tiny bit about WrestleMania 3?
By all means.
It was the peak of my wrestling fandom, and it was really important to me because that WrestleMania 3 was maybe the most important WrestleMania, because it really created what WrestleMania became for the next 30 years. The first one was a totally new concept, and it worked, and it was fun. But it was, it was a wrestling card. It was in Madison Square Garden. There were a couple of matches there that made you go like, all right. They definitely felt like preliminary matches where none of these would be on a later WrestleMania.
When you watch it, it's like watching like the first Super Bowl. You're like, there's a sense that this is important, but nobody's quite figured out how to make it feel more important than a regular game.
Yeah. And then the second WrestleMania didn't do that well. WrestleMania 2, what they tried to do was have it in 3 separate cities at the same time. So like they had a broadcast from New York, and then Chicago, and then LA. And because they spread it out, like none of those venues sold out. And even those venues that they had, they were all like the lesser venues in their cities. Like New York was not at MSG, it was on Long Island. It was at the Nassau Coliseum. Chicago was at the Rosemont Horizon, not Chicago Stadium. It was at the LA Sports Arena, and none of them sold out. And the cards, none of them were great. It's like there were no great matches in them. And so WrestleMania 3, like they really had to go like, all right, we got to fix this. We have to do something special. And so he found the largest building in the country and said, how do we fill this up and make it gigantic? And yeah, he talked Andre and Andre could barely physically wrestle anymore. His acromelogy, there's a fun documentary about Andre on HBO as well, if you ever want to check that out. Very quick, an hour and a half, but a fun watch.
I definitely need to watch it.
Yeah, it's a really good watch. Even my wife doesn't care at all about wrestling, and she enjoyed that documentary.
Oh,
yeah.
Well then that's a ringing endorsement.
It's an interesting. It's more a human interest documentary about a guy who was really one of the biggest figures of his era in the world. Like he was the highest paid entertainer athlete in the world when he was wrestling. But anyway, so yeah, WrestleMania 3, and so he basically talked to Andre and said, "There's this building in Pontiac, Michigan. And I think I can sell it out if I get you to wrestle Hulk Hogan." And Andre was like, I don't know, boss. He didn't know if he could physically do it. Wasn't thrilled at the idea of turning to a villain to do it. But yeah, he did it. He did it for Vince, and it was 93,000, and it set the template for what wrestling would become. And it's honestly still a fun card to rewatch. I'm not super into wrestling anymore, but whenever I'm feeling nostalgic, I'll be like, I'll just flip to Peacock and be like, all right, Steamboat Savage.
Have you seen Vince McMahon lately, by the way?
Oh, the pencil thin mustache.
Woof.
Yeah. Well, he just sold his company after leaving his company briefly because of a ton of sexual harassment incidents.
He is in his Dr. Robotnik era, and I'm not.
It's like J. Jonah Jameson fought InfoWars. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Vince. Anyway, that was quite a nostalgia trip right there, Dave. Thank you.
It was a heck of a week in America.
Dookie, can you tell us about? Do you want to do both cold opens or just the first cold open?
Sure. Let's knock them both out. So
right.
in Norm's first hurrah rather. So we enter the bar, in Cheers. Woody is kind of futzing around in his pockets, and Sam's like, "Oh, you missing something, Woody?" And he's like, "Yeah, I had $20 in my pocket. Now it's gone." Carl's like, "Well, say goodbye to that, Andy Jackson." And Wood says bye to a parting patron of the bar. Maybe he wasn't Andy Jackson. Who knows? And Carla's confused. Her confused face, because I really didn't have any joke of the week for this episode. And so Carla's confused face was sort of it in this bit for me. So Cliff enters from the pool room and he's like, oh boy, to talk about a lucky day, huh? I found 20 smackers back there in the pool room. And to celebrate my good fortune, I'm going to get a round of drinks for all of my friends. And Carl's like, oh, what are you going to do with the other $19? And Sam goes, oh, Woody, could that be the 20 you lost? And Woody's like, oh, yeah, I was in the pool room earlier. So Cliff's like, wait a second, let's be fair. Give me, and just in the most pedantic Cliff way, he's like, give me the serial number of this $20 bill. And, Sam realizes the absurdity. It's like, oh, come on, nobody knows the serial number. And Woody just rattles off L218861191B. And Cliff's like, that's amazing, and hands him back his 20 that he lost. And Sam turns to Woody's like, how'd you do that? And Woody says, well, I memorized the serial numbers on all my currency. And everybody's like, why? And Woody's like, for just such an occasion. I'll tell you, though, I pray every day that I'll be rich. Roll credits. I didn't get it.
That I never get rich, yeah.
Oh, that I never get rich, yeah. I didn't get it.
Because then he would have so many 20s to memorize.
I know, but I still don't get it. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Who wrote this and why?
Yeah. That's what was there. All right. Norm's first hurrah. There's a B story about them trying to pick a honeymoon destination that is just sort of there. It's weird because it doesn't feel like what Diane would want to go and do for her honeymoon. Or it's like they're going to go to a Buddhist retreat. Or where were they going?
Tibet.
I'm sorry. Oh, yes, that's right. Yes. So it's, of course we're going. It's our honeymoon. Of course we're going to Tibet. And then, and then that leads to Sam deciding that they're going to go to Disney World, and a conversation about why they dress the way that they do, where Mickey's bottom is covered up and Donald's bottom is not covered up, and a vaguely homophobic joke about Mickey Mouse, and then deciding that they are going to go to Disney World for a vacation, which leads me to wonder, when the wedding does not happen, does Sam still go to Disney World?
Great question.
It was definitely more affordable back then.
Right? Yeah. If has anyone ever known a wedding that got called off kind of late? I'm curious what does happen to the honeymoon at that point. I feel like someone's got to go still, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, come on, somebody's got to go someplace to recover.
Yeah.
There's this awful reality show I watch called Married at First Sight. And one of the brides found out her groom-to-be was having a whole affair, a week, or maybe somewhere within a week of the actual wedding. And it was a destination wedding. So she still brought in all of her friends and family to come celebrate with her and go to said destination, but it was a party instead of a wedding. Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
They still matched her with just a complete turd. Because it's a panel of experts that match singles to be married, and the first time they meet their betrothed is at the altar. It's nuts. It's a mess.
Any two people willing to be on that show deserve to be matched together. That's being a judge on that show is the easiest job in the world.
I mean, there are some couples that work out, but the mess is what keeps people tuning in. The mess. And the only way, because it's legally binding, they do the paperwork. And so the only way out of the marriages after 8 weeks is divorce. Yeah.
No annulments.
No. There have been, though. They did a season in Boston 2 seasons ago, by the way, if you ever cared. Yeah.
I'll talk to Jen. So the A story this week. Norm gets a job at a new accounting firm. He comes in. He's all happy. I love that. Norm comes in, and it's basically the same thing where, it's Norm, and then there's the Norm joke. and it comes in and it's a fun joke. And like, if it's a Norm episode, someone just notices something different about the way he answers, even when there's nothing different about the way he answers. But it's like, oh, you seem a little happy there, Norm.
Yeah.
You seem to have indigestion there, Norm. Whatever it is, yeah.
Norm is a mirror for all of us. We see what we need to see in Norm.
Exactly. He's gotten a new job, and instead of being really happy for him, everyone makes jokes about it. And he leaves like, oh, thanks for the support, guys. Diane feels very bad because no one has properly celebrated except for her and Woody, who claps late and goes on a little bit longer because he started late. And my joke of the week is when she's saying no one really, and no one supported him enough when he went, except Woody, of course. I loved his clearing of the throat to make certain that she realizes he did support her. They go to his office. They find that his office is essentially a closet in the most 80s building ever. That's my 80s moment of the week.
Oof, same right here.
80s. Just perfect. And it's perfect because they weren't trying to be 80s. They were just like, what does an office building look like right now? And it's the most 80s office you could possibly paint.
So much like pink and blue, like it's like whoever does the exterior design on the show like either loves that palette or can get it very cheaply, because I feel like every time they've left the bar for a public place, like the restaurant with where Sam and Diane finally get
cafe,
into the cafe, like they all have that same like palette.
The pastels, those vases flanking the elevator doors.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of it is just there wasn't. A lot of buildings looked like that. Like they just didn't put a lot of variety into them. It was a very cheap way to look chic and modern in 1987. Like, all right, there you go, done. Norm was boasting a bit too much about his office, and then he gets an office mate, and it's really terrible. And then this weird moment of Diane challenging Norm to do better, which is very uncomfortable. Yeah, it's like she's basically saying,
clean out. I didn't like it.
No, it's the whole rest of it I don't enjoy. Like you need to do this. And so he starts writing down ideas to present to his boss, and she's going to come and help him. And they've got pastries, and his office mate steals the ideas and goes to present them in his place. And they're actually terrible ideas and gets the guy in trouble. And Norm says, oh my God, I almost ruined my career by doing that. You know what? This is why I don't do it. I'm a bench warmer, Diane. That's my role in life. That's what you need to be. A lot of when that somehow becomes inspirational in this very like not believable way. It's a very weird episode in the end of it. And I want to support a full George Wendt episode, and he's fine. He's good. He's funny. It just feels weird. It feels off. It feels like maybe this would be Norm, but it's not Diane.
No.
Yeah.
Diane was like almost like mean spirited. Like really like aggressively kind of like tearing down this guy who she's apparently known at this point for like 5 years, knows who he is. Like it just felt weird. And again, I think Shelley Long does a perfectly fine job, and it was fun to see her actually get to kind of dig in a little bit. She hasn't been sort of the feature for a couple weeks, but this one just left me with a sour taste.
And I tried to give it the full benefit on the second watch of like, maybe this is about foreshadowing her leaving Sam to go and write her novel, because it's like, you're not doing enough with your life. What are you doing? You're settling. What's happening? And trying to give it all the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think that payoff is there.
To me, sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm just saying, I see your logic, Mike.
I guess, but I don't, it doesn't feel like it. I feel like I'm trying to find a justification for behavior that doesn't line up.
It feels more to me like, and I just couldn't get around this once I thought it like that. It feels more like the writers trying to make Diane less likable. So when she does leave, or if they, at the point they feel somewhat confident that she's leaving the show, like it's going to be easier. And that feeling just didn't sit well with me either.
Yeah, so it's there. All right, let's get through some categories here, because we got a whole other episode to talk about in 26 minutes ago. So we did our jokes of the week. Dave, you got a joke of the week?
It's really just the office itself, and it's not even the way that, I mean, they do it fine, but I was like, oh, this is the stateroom scene from A Night at the Opera, and which is always delightful, and I enjoyed thinking about that movie more than I liked watching this episode, and I was grateful that this episode gave me a moment to think about a movie I really like.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, that's got to be on the list. It's funny because Dave and I both love it. I'm not sure you're going to get there on it.
Okay.
But it's a really important movie. Like, I feel like maybe that and Duck Soup should go on the list because they're super important Marx Brothers movies. And we'll pick one of them. And if you like one of them, we'll do the other one. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, Dave, we should put those on the list.
Okay.
All right. They're really fun. I think you'll dig Night at the Opera. There's good stuff in there.
Night at the Opera is really, really well put together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well assembled. All right. Dave, your 80s moment of the week.
Oh, it's purely that office building. Yeah. Every time, like the when those elevator doors open, I was like, "Yep, thank you."
Yep.
I've been in this space. You know exactly how to show me like 80s Wall Street cog in the machine slickness.
Important. Cliff has a joke that just drops like a stone. There was no laugh to it. Where he's coming out, oh yeah, he's talking about elevator disasters, and there's no reaction.
Yep.
That was funny. Yeah. Tookie, 80s moments, please.
Okay. $20 buying a round of drinks for people. Tibet, I think, still being considered a country without controversy. Because that,
good point.
That, you know, that's still very, it's dicey these days.
Yeah.
Whereas you could refer to it. Yeah. Whereas you could refer to it as its own sovereign country. Sometime before, not just the fact that office building is so 80s, but like the fact that it's so deeply carpeted, a whole the fully carpeted office, which Carla doing the static shock prank on Diane, like that feels like something you could only do in a building that has not been updated since 1987. And Carla referencing being a secretary who doesn't do shorthand. So as someone who worked as an administrative assistant, as they're called now, shorthand hasn't been a thing for a while.
Oh, has it? Oh, yeah. I guess it really wouldn't need to be. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So those are my 80s moments for
good calls. All right, Tookie, how white was this episode?
Not that white.
We had a person of color speaking a line, several lines.
The guy had lines.
He was funny.
Yeah, this was progress, man. And like, I'm not even kidding. Like, the bar was packed, which also blew my mind. Like, how did 3 or 4 staffers? Well, no, Cliff feels like a staffer, but like, Carla going and Carla and Diane both taking a break to go visit Norm at work while the bar is packed with people. So for this, I didn't have a joke of the week, but there's a Trevor joke of the week, which is all of Carla's sexual innuendos.
You said you had a joke of the week early on. You said
that Carla's face, but it still doesn't. Thanks, Dewey. But that still doesn't feel like a joke.
Okay, fair. I just wanted this is more me pointing out that I didn't just skip your joke of the week. You did say you had a joke of the week.
Yeah, but it was as I was recounting the cold open. So in the cold open, a black woman passed behind Woody. A black man was on the audience side of the bar. Scene 1, a black woman at the bar, a black man at the back hallway, a black man sitting next to Geronimo, a black woman who entered from the hallway, a black woman from the cold open. So a repeat from the cold open, sitting on the back wall, or standing rather, an Asian woman by the jukebox, a black woman with her by the jukebox, an Asian man in the upper booths near the doors, a black woman who passed behind Sam, an Asian man on the phone, an Asian woman who enters, a black man by the cellar door. Scene 2, 3 black men who pass in the office, because this is in the office. You can't see them. They're kind of from the profile and behind, but 3 black men who pass in the office hallway and an Asian man who walked in the hall. In scene 3, the black man who delivers boxes into Norm's office, who has lines. Thank you, God. Scene 4, a black woman who entered behind Sam at the bar. Latino man, I believe, sitting behind Frasier, a black woman and a black man at the piano, a black woman who passed by Norm. She's a repeat extra, an Asian man on the wall, sitting on the wall behind Norm, who's also a repeat extra. A Latino man behind Diane, who's wearing yellow, possibly Latina woman next to him, a black woman at the far table behind Frasier, a black man and black woman who passed behind Sam. I believe she may have been South Asian, so I'll say a South Asian woman in purple who kind of passed by Norm. Scene 5, no people of color. And scene 6, a black man at the elevator and a black man who exits the board meeting. In total, 29 people of color this episode.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Progress.
Excellent. All right. There you go. Norm's first hurrah.
Yeah.
And now episode 24. We've got Cheers the Motion Picture.
Oh, God.
We've covered the timeline. Tookie, do you want to cover the cold open?
Oy vey.
It's really all part of the show. Yeah, this one.
I will say that's something I kind of like about this episode is that it is like a self-contained, everything is like all kind of like pulling on the same rope. It's a little weird, but I thought that was at least an interesting kind of aspect to it.
Yeah, but that final film, man. Anyway, so
Man-Child in Beantown Redo.
Oh okay. And anywho, so second cold open. So we enter and we see Woody on the phone, and I know, Dad, but still, well, whatever you think is best, Dad. Right. Bye, Dad. And he hangs up and turns to Frasier and Norm like, yeah, that was my dad. And Frasier's, oh, really? Yeah. So Woody explains, he's trying to get me to move back home to Indiana. He's been talking to my Uncle Fergie. And Norm is like, oh, the guy who was here last week with you? I thought he had a great time. And Woody's like, yeah, he did. But all he told him about was the 2 times he got mugged. And Frasier's like, well, that was just a stretch of bad luck. You've lived here 2 years. How many times have you been mugged? And Woody's like 10, but that's including the 2 times with Uncle Fergie. So now my parents are convinced that Boston's a dangerous town and all my friends are seedy lowlifes. And Frasier, he takes great umbrage at this. He's like, well, I'm sure they don't want you to go back to Indiana because we're a corrupting influence. He's not clutching his pearls, but clutching his cardigan. Woody's like, well, who knows? Somehow they got the idea that every guy in Boston is some lonely, pathetic weirdo. And then it cuts to Cliff chasing a guy out of the pool room holding what I think is a squash. And he's like, is this or is this not the spitting image of George Schultz? And so Frasier's like, or was it Norm? Norm's like, so Woody, what time does your bus leave? Roll credits.
Indeed. All right. There is one story. It's about Woody's dad wanting to make him come home. They're trying to figure out how to prevent this from happening. Diane decides that the way to do this is to make a movie that shows how wonderful Woody's life in Boston is. She has given them cards. There are some funny jokes there. It's not that I dislike the jokes that are a part of that, especially when Diane mouths fawn-like. I enjoy that very much. Like I had multiple contenders for joke of the week, so it's not that this was a week devoid of jokes, but yeah, it again felt like we just need something to be an issue this week. And maybe part of it was like no one got mugged in Boston 10 times, especially not Woody's life, where it's like, he lives fairly close to the bar because he doesn't have a car, so he walks there. And it's like that area was just not an area, even in the 80s, where you got mugged. So you didn't get mugged 10 times. Even someone as innocent as Woody.
Yeah.
All right.
That felt like a Republican talking point that made its way into a sitcom.
Yeah. Liberal Ted Kennedy City. They're all getting mugged. Tip O'Neill, do your job.
Wow.
But, so they try to make the movie. They're recording on a VHS camcorder, and somehow they show it on a film projector. I don't know how that happens. It's 87. When they're showing the film projector, there's a part of me going, I get that they needed a big thing to show this on and have everybody watch, and the TV maybe didn't work. But yeah, that's not the camera that you were using. I don't understand what was happening with the technology there. Then they kick... They kick Diane off. They make their own movie. They show the movie, which has funny moments in it. The puppy scene makes me laugh.
The puppy scene was great.
Yeah, the puppy scene. Yeah, what am I going to do with this small? After all, what kind of a place is a small farm to raise a puppy? And yeah, I guess you're just going to have to put him to sleep. Yeah, it's really, so that's good. I love when they try to deliver the mail and everyone gives each other the letters because Cliff delivered in the wrong place. I think my joke of the week might be the falling body behind Frasier.
Oh my God, that was so dark.
It was dark, but I kind of respected the dark swing right there. I respected it.
It was so dark.
Yeah.
I felt bad because I cackled, but
yes, yeah. Which is exactly what you're going for when you're going for dark humor.
Yeah.
Well, a baller move too to be like, wait, rewind that and let's look at it again. Like, I love that moment.
That was great. It was really great. Everyone finishes the movie. They acknowledge it's terrible. They should all move to Indiana. Diane decides that she can save it with her man-child and Meantown Redo, which somehow has Nazis in it. It's so weird.
So bad.
It's so weird.
It's so bad.
Like, and again, it felt like in Norm's first Hurrah, where I'm like, Diane, some of this I get.
Yeah.
Doing some of the pretentious stuff, but there are things in there that make me go like, Diane's not this dumb. Yeah.
No, she's going to take a huge swing, but like,
yes,
like she's not clueless.
Yeah. She's not a moron.
No.
And so she makes this edit and they're all like, yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. And she, of course, has already sent it to the boys and saying, I'm sure this is going to work. And then cut immediately to Woody having to leave the bar. He's got his jacket on. Everyone's giving him small tokens. And then a wonderful moment of Frasier saying, I didn't know we were giving gifts. Woody leaves. There's a phone call. It's Woody's dad. Call him back into the bar. And somehow he conveys in a ridiculously short, even for a TV phone call, like, what, Dad? Oh my God, that's great. Thanks. Hang up. Like, there's not enough time for Woody's dad to have actually said everything he needed to say there, but it's TV. Okay, fine. And he says, my dad said I can stay. Oh, my movie had an effect on him. No, he got a letter. Oh no, there was a funny joke in there too that I forgot. Oh, that movie like that's not going to have an effect on a man like Woody, Mr. Boyd. And he said, yeah, and he thought it was too derivative of Godard.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed as well.
I think that was my joke of the week.
Yeah, it's a good joke of the week. That's a very good joke of the week. And then he said, no, he threw that film in the pressure. But someone sent him a note saying, yeah, let your child choose his own path and it will always lead back to you. And it was like, oh, that's wonderful. Who said it? What? Who sent this? And then Al Rosen is leaving again and says, you're welcome, kid. Or don't mention it, kid?
Yeah, don't mention it, kid.
Don't mention it, yeah. End of the episode. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this week's. Like, as I recap it, I'm like, there's a lot I liked about it.
It's like structurally it's interesting. It was kind of fun to see. Like, it was like the anti-clip show version. It was like a clip show but made up of clips that we've never seen, which is kind of interesting. I didn't hate it. Like it is continuing this sort of like Cheers tradition of like, let's pad out the end of the season before like the big events.
Yeah.
But I sort of appreciated it as like a stylistic swing for something different. Something that was interesting about these two episodes is that neither one are James Burrows directed, and I feel like you can really see that in both of them visually.
Are these the first two that he has not directed? I
think there was like one other one because I think Thomas LaFaro, who directed the Norm episode, I think directed one other episode. But like you can like there are shots that like are kind of weird and kind of striking. Like it just feels like people like kind of like learning the how to film in that bar.
Yeah.
Like this episode felt really, really dark, like visually dark.
Yeah, it was a DC movie. So
yeah, it was weird. Even outside of the moments where they're turning off the lights to watch the movie. Yeah, it was kind of weird. And I think this is like the classic case of a bunch of great, is a little like the first one. It's a bunch of great moments that don't quite make up a great story. Because there's a lot of things where it felt like, we're doing something out of character for these characters to justify jokes that we wanted to film.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird that Carla was like tongue-tied on camera. Like that didn't make sense to me. Like,
Yeah, that doesn't feel like Carla.
No, she danced on camera. Like, yeah, she's been on camera. She's been confident. Yeah. And this is just a whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. All right. So we did our jokes of the week. Tookie, what's your joke of the week?
Sam reading the Bible.
Oh, good moment. Yeah.
that was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice.
Darn those Galatians. When will they listen? Is pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought that was
Good
a nice
call.
meta joke because he's a heathen.
Very nice. I got in my 80s moment. There are a bunch of 80s moments in this episode. Yeah. Dave, what's your 80s moment?
What was it? I mean, I have to go with that screen. You know,
Mhm.
I know it was the wrong piece of technology, but that screen is was such a staple of every classroom that I attended in middle school and high school.
And that was really the last gasp for those screens.
Yep. They're terrible.
Before we got the rolling cart with the VCR and the TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just like the worst possible iteration. They don't stay up. Like they will legit hurt you. Like they're a disaster waiting to happen at every moment.
True. Tookie, your 80s moments.
Not as many as for the last episode, just primarily, again, the technology, the camcorder. I was like, what even is this contraption? And not so much an 80s moment, but like, is it a meme? The way Diane directs, like the whole director trope of like, people, work with me.
I would call that a meme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I would too.
I think so. Yes, definitely. Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, because I picture, the director with the hat and the puffy pants and the yeah.
Tiny cigarette.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Okay, cool.
I'm on board. All right. How white was this week's episode?
Let's see. Not that white, actually. Yeah.
All right. We're on a good little stretch here.
I think we're doing what? Let me see. Let me double check again. Okay.
It's hard to tell because it's so dark. Like you literally can't see other people.
Dark. It was so dark for like 2/3 of this episode. So we've got a black man and black woman in the upper right booth, 2 Asian women at the bar, a black man at the back wall, a black woman who passed around the bar, and you see her another place. A black man in the hallway, an Asian man in the bar. He was wearing a sweet leather jacket, by the way, this Asian man, at the end of the bar. Scene 1, 0 people of color. Scene 2, 2 Asian women at the bar, a black man in the hall during Cliff switching mail. One of the residents who switched mail. A Latina woman who exits the Hungry Heifer, a Latina woman who is inside the restaurant, a black woman who passed by at the restaurant, and a black man and woman who were sitting at the table at the restaurant, possibly more people of color just because it's like it was so dimly lit, but those are the ones who I managed to see. Scene 3, an Asian man at the bar, a black woman at sitting by Geronimo, an Asian man at the bar, a black man and black woman in matching green at the bar. And an Asian man who passed behind that particular couple. And then like during that cut between like, oh, well, now I got a pack to go to Indiana. A black woman and a Latino man at the piano, a Latina man and Asian woman at the jukebox, a Latino man at the bar, a black woman and black man at the upper booth with Al, a black man who enters from the hall, an Asian woman at the bar, and a black man who passed behind Woody. So in total, we have 14 plus 12 is 6 and 7. Wow, 31.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a record?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah. Go casting department.
Yeah. These episodes have given us more than we thought.
All right. That's a positive. Also, a nice little appearance from Doris Grau, Corinne who's been a waitress at the bar, like a sub waitress once or twice.
Yeah.
Like the most recognizable character actor from this period, played a waitress every single time.
Yep. Good.
That was just her shtick.
Yeah. I got to say, the Hungry Heifer, when they show the outside, always looks nicer than I expected to. It's a nice diner.
Where do you suppose they because that was something, and I don't know if I would call it 80s, so I didn't include it, but the font of the restaurant. Because I'm like, where do you suppose they filmed that? What was the location where they filmed Hungry Heifer, or is it just a set that was built?
Well, I'm sure it was. I mean, it was probably a restaurant near the studios, and they threw that sign up on it. Because in my head, the Hungry Heifer has always been like in Saugus.
Yeah. But the font of the menu and the signage on the restaurant feels like of a different time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. Absolutely. All right. We're putting these puppies to bed. We got 2 more episodes to go. I enjoy the next one. I hope it lives up to my memory where they're buying the house. I hope I enjoy that. And then the big finale for Shelley's run and our run, I Do, coming up. All right. Do we have anything to plug this week, folks? Tookie, you got anything to plug?
I'm seeing Sister Act tomorrow.
Where are you seeing that?
Live theater at the Lyric Stage Company.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And then I'll be at Back Bay Social. So yeah, that'll be fun on
Good
Thursday.
Times.
Yeah.
All right. David, you just opened a show.
Yep, come see Indecent at the Wilbury Group Theater here in Providence. We're back at it on Thursday, and we are running through the first 2 weeks of May, I believe.
Perfect. The perfect springtime show.
If you've ever wanted to see me sing in Yiddish, this is your chance.
Seen it. My bubby made a kitschka. She made it nice and fat.
Canceled.
It's true. We do control the media. I knew it.
Hey, I have it on Don't Disturb. What happened?
Mike's been canceled.
My goodness.
George Soros was like, no, thank you, sir.
Come on. That was a great Waiting for Guffman callback.
Oh, boy.
All right. I, as usual, have nothing. So until next week, I'm Mike. That's Tookie. That's Dave. We're going to be back with our final 2 episodes of Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.